Take two.
Okay, thank you for coming back for part 3 of anger management life skills lesson. This is the part where we go over the objective inquiry portion. What that means is that we're going to go over ways that we can better control our anger and identify it in the moment. So basically, can I ask all of you just to kind of think of a situation where you were angry and said or did something that you regretted? A lot of times, regret is a big partnered feeling that comes with anger. People, reportedly have said, I get angry, I do things, and then I regret it. So could you possibly give us all an example or share something that, you regret that you've maybe done or said out of anger?
Do you want me to start? I can start.
Of course.
Well, my mother is on my behind about me studying all the time, and when she says it, it sounds like nagging, and I get very angry at her and whoever's around, but I know it's because she is trying to do the best for me and help me, but does come off as nagging. But I do regret it after, like, okay, she's just trying to help me out. But, like, anyone even, it's not even just my mother, anyone that's, like, on my butt about studying, it's like, here we go again, but I know it's all for...
And so what did you regret, though? What was the regret piece of that?
That it turned into not just MCAT discussion, it turned into, like, bringing everything out from under the rug. It was like, well, then last week you did this, and it just turned into this big fight that didn't need to go there.
Okay.
So I regret letting it go there.
Okay.
And I should have just kept it on the topic, saw the reason behind it, and just went with it and, like, accepted it for what it was.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Donna, do you have an example of something?
I'm still trying. I'm trying to think of one that would end with regret. But I
Have you ever lost your temper at work and said something that you wish you didn't to a colleague or your supervisor? Or have you ever said something in anger to your spouse and regretted it after? Okay, we'll come back to you. That's totally fine. No pressure.
I'll wait for Donna to think.
No, that's okay. No pressure. Go ahead.
After my wife had our child, she started going back to the gym, and I was selfish and didn't think of the implications for her, only that she was leaving me at night to go to the gym instead of spending time with me. I got mad at her a few times, and then obviously she freaked out at me about it because I was being a jerk, and opened my eyes that it was for her benefit to go because she's been home all day with the baby, and I had regret for the way I acted.
Okay. And that's, okay, so, and I mean, with regret, it sounds like the common theme in the regret part, and I'm laughing because our therapy dog, Bob, under the table is
You just want
visiting.
some attention.
Yes, he's visiting everybody, talking about anger. Yeah, if you want to put him on this page, you can. Bye, Bob. So basically, the big piece with what I'm hearing in the common denominator, and feel free to correct me, is that communication is the big common factor in the regret part. That it was how you communicated, or lack of communication, or unclear communication as to what the problem really was that caused the issues. It's okay, Bob. So basically, what are some tools that you think could be used to streamline the communication? I know, it's fun having a dog when we're trying to do this. You brought up the 24-hour rule.
Right.
Do you think that the 24-hour rule in your situation would have helped?
Well, I would say yes and no, because it's hard when you live with the person. You can't separate yourself for 24 hours. If it would have been someone in a different setting, then 100% yes. Because I would be able to, like, walk away when you're living with someone. But again, I have lived with roommates before, and I was able to kind of close myself off and go do my own thing for 24 hours. But I think it's a little different. That's like a mother-daughter relationship versus just like two other roommates. You know what I mean? Like your mom's gonna talk to you if you want her to or not in the next 24 hours.
So do you think that maybe doing some of the other tools that are known quite well for anger management, which is, you know, just walking away, even if it's to your own room or to the basement or to a different part of the house, or maybe even counting to 10, taking 10 deep breaths before speaking, would those work at all in that situation, you think? What's your opinion on that? I find myself, like, before I do say anything that I would regret, like taking a big breath and being like, okay, is it worth it? That's a big question.
I wouldn't say I'm someone that needs the last word, so I'm not, like, as I'm walking away, throwing the last little comment out there. I'm pretty good at walking away. It's just, again, that mother-daughter relationship, as soon as you walk away, it turns into you have attitude and you're just walking away. You know what I mean? Yeah. Some people deal with conflict differently. I am more one to walk away, and my mother is more one to deal with it on the spot, that day, that time. So when there's two of those personalities, it brings it into a bigger deal because she thinks me walking away is me giving her attitude. But it's me taking a step back to be like, listen, if I don't do this, I'm going to blow up on you.
Right.
So she should just know, and I've told her that I just need time to cool off. But she's not like that, so we just let it happen.
And so do you like in regards to the coping mechanisms that go along with this, do you think that one would work better than others for Michelle's situation or even for Jane's situation?
Well, I think I probably am leaning more towards your way of cooling off for a while and letting it dissipate before before you act too much on it, especially because you already seem to be aware of the triggers, the reasons, and all the rest of it. So
right. I know
it's only dealing with the emotion at the time that's really the main thing. And I would say, because I couldn't think of anything before that was really coming to mind, an incident that did occur was actually just a contractor doing work for us who lied. And I know he lied. I know he was bringing a material that we did not order, but he thought he could put it over on me. And in fact, he actually tried to start installing it before I could see it. And I knew that he was doing that on purpose so that I would be stuck to say either, oh, I didn't think it looked like that, or, or not say anything and just,
take it.
Just take it and swallow it or whatever. But I did deal with them face on, I must say, and insisted that I knew that wasn't what I ordered. And we had a few words about that because he said, well, this is what we have. And I said, that's not even near the sample. And we discussed it, whatever. In the end, I was angry about the situation, but I didn't hate the material. So, but there was a part of the material that I didn't like. It was stone. There were certain stones I didn't like.
Right.
So I compromised with him. I said I would accept it, only if he made sure that there was actually none of that one particular stone included in any of it. It had to be omitted completely, and that they had to do the job without that particular stone, and then I would accept it, but that I wasn't happy about it, and
you did verbalize that you were angry. That was kind of your coping mechanism. You said, I'm angry.
I definitely did not let him think that he was convincing me that
I
I was some old lady who didn't know anything about anything, and that he could just tell me whatever and I would accept it.
Good for you.
So I found him very condescending, and that really did make me angry. And I wasn't going to let it go.
Well, Michelle's way of walking away, it was one coping mechanism. Your way in this was being direct and verbalizing very openly, I'm upset, I'm angry, and this is, my criteria.
Well, and in a way, he was just lucky that I found it acceptable enough that I could compromise with him.
You had to tell him that you weren't okay with it.
So you compromised.
Yeah.
I did.
But you communicated that you were angry. That's good.
I only compromised because I felt it was okay to compromise because I did like it. If I hadn't liked it at all, I really would have followed through and
Good
told
for
them
you.
to take it away.
So Jay, in
Sorry.
regards, it's okay.
Yeah,
Bob is our puppy, so he's gonna be around in these
He
videos,
brings
which is
happiness,
fine.
not anger.
That's right. He's a good balancer. He's a good diffuser when we're talking about anger.
Yeah.
So Jay, you talked about having an outburst with your wife about the fact that she was going to the gym and that you had some feelings about what that meant when she went to the gym and that you didn't really communicate them the best way. So you said that you did that out of anger. What were some tools that you think maybe you should have used in that situation? What are some ways that you think maybe that scenario could have gone down differently, but you could have still communicated your issues properly?
I should have thought before I spoke.
Okay, so maybe taking that in Michelle's 24-hour rule.
Not even before I even spoke. Like,
Okay.
hers is
Thinking of the consequences.
yeah, and maybe
So
putting
you're more
myself
spontaneous.
in my wife's shoes instead of just all about me and being
So
selfish
just trying to be empathetic.
and less of an asshole.
Okay, well, listen, no one's
One way to
calling
put
you
it.
an asshole, so I mean, if you feel that way, that's totally fine for you to just say whatever you want. In the moment, though, when you were getting angry, when you were getting heated, would it have helped to kind of stop, take 10 deep breaths, count to 10, and then speak? Do you think that maybe your mouth was getting away with you? Did you ever feel like, okay, I regret just saying that? I should have thought and taken 10 deep breaths and then spoke? Would that have worked?
I think it would have worked most is putting myself in her shoes, like I said. Those other ones you said, I wouldn't have done that.
But if you had done it, do you think it would have changed anything? If you
Not
had
the 10
practiced
breaths.
those techniques?
I don't know. Maybe. I guess, yeah.
Okay. All right.
When you and your wife get in a heated fight, do you guys walk away or do you keep going until it hits its like max?
She usually
And then you
wins,
part
so,
ways.
I mean,
I was going to ask that
Yeah.
question. Does somebody have to be right in the end?
Or do you guys let it get to like the 10 out of 10 or do you like both walk away at like a 7
no,
out
it
of 10?
rarely goes to 10 out of 10. That's like a 6 or a 7.
Okay, and then one of you guys will call it.
No, usually I lose, and then I realize I made a mistake and move on. I'm not joking.
Okay.
I do stupid stuff. I'm not gonna lie.
You start to think from other people's perspectives.
Yes,
and you're
I'm
like,
selfish
okay.
sometimes, and you gotta not be.
So what I want to do now, and I'll write them down, I just want us to kind of come up with a list. Let's call it a cheat sheet of coping mechanisms for when we're angry. They can be mechanisms for in the moment, for when you feel that it's coming on and you know a confrontation is coming. I mean, confrontation is often the source of angry outcomes. You described it was basically a conflict with your mother, conflict with your contractor, conflict with your wife. It's all of these things are relationship based. All of these things are conflict between somebody that you have either a professional relationship with, a parent relationship with, or a spousal relationship with. And all three of them have consistencies, right? All of them come down to communication.
Mhm.
So what are some ways, what's something we can put on our cheat sheet? Michelle?
I think the deep breathing is 100% one
Deep
that
breathing.
works.
Okay.
Can I start listing them off? I got a couple of them.
Everybody just jump in. I'm fine with that.
I think I don't know what it's called in an objective term, but when you do put when you put yourself in other people's shoes, because I do that a
So
lot
maybe
too.
a little self-reflection
Yeah.
before speaking.
Yeah, self-reflection.
I really liked your 24-hour rule of
Okay.
we talked about earlier
Yeah.
with your brother's
Any
sports
professional
team.
hockey team or any
Yeah,
sports
I
team,
think
yeah.
that's really interesting that is a known rule that you guys have a no talk rule about that topic for 24 hours. I think
It's like a cooling off period.
great. So you know what, cooling off period is great because cooling off can be before, during, or after, right?
Yeah, you can come back to the topic
It's
even if you just take a
it's
second.
just a time of reflection
Mhm.
where you review it in your own mind and,
Mhm.
and look at both sides and can sometimes change your mind or or they give the other person time to change their mind.
Something Jay you brought up before was about the light bulbs, that your wife was leaving the lights on, and you had said that the way that you solved this problem was to change the light bulbs so that they weren't costing as much, therefore it wasn't triggering you. So would we say removing the trigger would be a good way of dealing with our anger? Maybe identifying what the real cause of the conflict is and removing it?
And I gave up.
Especially when it's something as simple as turning a light off. If you know that that is a trigger for your partner who you love, and it's a simple thing to do, why not do it?
Mm-hmm.
It can come down to maybe self-reflection and being considerate. It's just a little thing that you could do for someone who you don't want to anger.
I
Okay.
think it's super important to make yourself very clear, like, to have, like, clear communication, because, like, even with that, like, if you'd have gone to your wife and been like, listen, this is one of the few things that I just really need you to do, like, you know, there's these things that annoy me, but this is one of my main things, like,
And identifying, saying, like, I'm angry.
yeah, and like,
this is
making clear
why.
that it's not just like, oh, like, I come home and the house is a mess. Like, that's a huge thing. That's a bunch of things. But this one specific thing, kind of localizing it to one issue and then taking steps from there.
So we have the deep breathing, the self-reflection, the 24-hour no talk rule, the cooling off period, removing the triggers, self-awareness.
You can have signals. This is just a little something that I had with a work partner. It wouldn't work for everybody, but we could hear through the wall. And our phones were literally, there was a wall between our phones. And she used to get somebody on the phone, and I would always know because she would tap on the wall, and I would phone her so her other line would ring, so she could say, I'm sorry, I have to pick up this other line, and get off the phone and be able to break it off.
Diffuse the situation.
So you can always, like...
So develop nonverbal cues to the people that you have conflict
Yeah.
with, saying,
Yeah.
we need
a
time.
little assistance from
Okay.
somebody
A
could
safe
help.
word even. I guess that is verbal now.
Especially if it's something repetitive that you could share with somebody and they could help you when that incident comes up again and again.
Mm-hmm.
To have somebody just help you a little bit
Okay.
could be helpful.
So we have these are all really good points. My thing now is, okay, like I said, deep breathing, self-reflection, 24-hour no-talk rule, the cooling off period, removing the triggers, self-awareness, clear communication, identifying you're angry, because sometimes common sense isn't so common, and people might just think you're being sarcastic or funny, and really just saying, no, I'm angry, can really bring people's attention onto the matter, and nonverbal cues. So we talked about the successes of all these. Can you guys think of how any of these might fail you?
Well, I even said the walking away, and my mom takes it as that's attitude, and I'm just trying to cool off.
Okay.
So
And you?
it escalates the situation.
Makes sense.
I have known that people have lost their jobs
For what? For which one of these
For-
made them lose their job?
for talking about being angry about a situation.
Okay. All right. So
That
for
would be
being
that would be a reason that their employer would use to.
okay.
I can see that in my job,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
like men versus women being
Yeah.
paid different. I feel like if I went to my boss and was like, not just asking for a pay raise, but said, because I'm angry about this situation that I'm in, I think that it would be kind of, I put myself on that path. I'm not saying that would happen, but I feel like I'd put myself on that path of me stating that rather than just like going and being like, oh, I want a pay raise, to be like, I am angry that I'm getting paid less because I'm a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Because the way the company is, I feel like that could raise some legs.
Okay. Jay, what do you think? Which one of these, if
What was
any?
the last one?
So nonverbal cues was the very last one. There was the
Second last
clear
one.
communication.
The clear
identifying.
communication
Okay.
might get you in more trouble.
So you
In my
agree with
case.
what they're saying?
That, yeah, it might, like if you're in an argument,
Are you
you
okay
can
to say what you
sound
really think?
no, but maybe you can like guess, joke it off. It's not as serious. But then if you say, no, this is like really pissing me off, then later on you'll be like, that was actually not that big of a deal, but you made it so much worse. Like the lights, it's not a big deal, but obviously the way I did it was probably wrong. But I mean, if I was honest about it, I probably would have made it a bigger deal than it actually was.
Okay. So
Can you repeat your question again?
So my question is that, all of these would work for a myriad of reasons, but what are some reasons as to why they would fail us?
Okay.
And we have the deep breathing, the reflection. I can see the 24-hour, or I can see the cooling off period being dangerous in certain situations because, it could fester. It could sit under the skin. Sometimes getting it out and being in the moment and saying how we feel and getting it all out is the healthiest way. Not all the time, not with every single person's situation. Because like you said, at work, the cooling off period might be perfect for somebody who's angry because perhaps maybe voicing their anger is going to get them into more trouble at work and vice versa. So with your cooling off period, there's reasons why that these could come in and kind of fail us, removing the triggers.
Sometimes a cooling off period, if it goes too long, it can be hard for a couple to reunite after that. It can cool off
Too much.
too long,
Yeah.
and then it's harder to be the person to make the first approach back, or to apologize, or to just want to get back to normal.
Gets thrown under the rug for a while until it comes back up, and then it just is escalated.
All right. Well, I think that we have a pretty good list. It looks like we have...
I have one more that I
Yeah.
know people do. It's not for me because I'm not very creative and this and that, but I know people like to write notes
Okay.
Yes.
when there's an issue, whether it's
So
themselves
true.
or to
Well,
someone
you're
else
good.
of what they want to say,
Or
and
text
then
message now.
well, but you're not gonna send it to the person. You crinkle it up and then you throw it in the garbage because you got your feelings out, and then you're like, okay, I feel cleansed now.
But sometimes it is good to write to the person.
Yeah.
And
Oh, you're saying actually give it to them?
to express
Oh.
to
I guess so.
express yourself, because there's times when you try to speak to someone who's angry, who won't listen, who won't stop,
Mm-hmm.
won't stop
Mhm.
their argument to listen to what you're trying to say,
Mm-hmm.
and you can just finally give up because you just can't get a word in edgewise. So it's
Mhm.
like, you know what, it's going nowhere. I'm walking away. But in time, you might feel it's important enough that you want that person to understand how you feel, whether they want to hear it or not. And so sometimes writing a letter or a note and giving it to them, it is
I feel
the
like
way
that-
to do it.
So would the happy medium between your version and hers maybe be write the letter and hold on to it for 24
Yeah.
hours, reread
Yeah.
it,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
then maybe make a
Good.
second draft and then
Mhm.
send it?
Yeah. Because if I got a letter about someone being mad, I would take that as they wanted the last word, which is
Oh.
just passive aggressive, and that would make me more angry because I hate passive aggressiveness. I'd rather deal with it face to face.
Mhm.
So if I were to get a letter saying I'm mad at you and just list the reasons why, whether it's through a letter or text message, I have gotten a text message like that before, listing the reasons why they're mad. I feel like, I can't really defend myself. Let's say it is a letter. I'm not going to write you a letter back and get enough argument that way. I would have rather had that face-to-face communication, and so I would take that and mine would escalate into more aggression.
Jay, what do you think about the letters idea? What do you think about the letter idea? Being a successful tool or an unsuccessful tool or both or none? What do you think?
I prefer to just deal with it on the spot.
So,
That
but
day,
in
that
regards,
Depends what it is.
but
though.
in
I've been
regards to
saving
the
some big
letter,
ones.
let's say somebody at work sent you a letter at work, a colleague, saying, "Jay, I'm mad at you. I think you ate my lunch out of the fridge." How do you think that tool of the letter writing would go over with you, being the recipient of being
I'd
the
say it's
trigger?
dumb. You should have just talked to me.
Yeah, I do
Mhm.
too.
Yeah.
I mean, in that case, I would not recommend letter writing at all. The only way I would is if the other person refused to stop talking.
Okay, so let's say
Because I've been in
then
that
you wrote a
situation.
letter to
Or
a
they
boss.
refuse to talk.
What if you decided to write an email to a head supervisor or an MP about a pay issue? Do you think that writing the letter versus calling and speaking would mean more because it held more value?
In that case, if you're going to like a superior, it might be easier to say what you have to say in a polite but accurate way.
Mm-hmm.
Like as in, but if you're talking to them, you might show some sort of anger or disrespect that
Like
might
through
get
your
you
physical
further
body
trouble.
language?
Whereas
Okay.
in an email, it might just get to the point,
Okay.
keep it simple.
All right. Well, I think we kind of hit it on the head here with the fact that all of these have their usages for all different sorts of communication styles, whether it is with your bosses, with your colleagues, with your contractors, with your parents, with your friends and your family, your spouse. All of these can have really good uses. All of these different coping mechanisms, and I think going forward, you might be able to pull from them if you find yourself in specific situations where you're asking yourself, which way should I go about this? So we're gonna call it a break now, and we are gonna come back to this for the skills practice portion. And thank you guys so much. So feel free to get a drink, relax, go to the washroom, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Thanks.